Tonight, you will most probably be sleeping in a very soft and comfortable bed. In a quiet room with as much darkness or light as you could ever wish for.
But for much of human history, sleep wasn't like this.
Sleeping was not for the purpose of relaxation, it was for survival. How did the people sleep when there were no modern beds, pillows and private bedrooms? Why was sleep so different from what we know it to be today? For thousands of years, the very concept of what we call a bed simply did not exist in its current meaning. A bed was not a personal possession, it was merely a place where one could lie down. During the earliest periods, people would sleep directly on the bare earth. In caves, dry grasses, leaves, or straw were commonly used over animal hides. The purpose was not comfort, but to cut off the coldness rising up from the ground. Softness was considered a luxury. Throughout history, the vast majority of people slept on the ground. In ancient Egypt, people would sleep on mats that were made from reeds. These mats were collected during the day, then spread out again at night. In ancient Rome, the wealthy had elevated beds, but ordinary Romans slept by spreading straw-filled bags directly on the floor. In medieval Europe, peasants would typically sleep on straw beds, which were commonly known as pallets. These sleeping arrangements were often quite thin and hard, and they were frequently shared by several individuals. Because straw had a tendency to attract insects, it was necessary for these beds to be changed very frequently.
Back pain was considered quite normal. Feeling the chill was an accepted part of life. A general sense of discomfort was simply the norm. The presence of a bed was a clear mark of prosperity. In ancient and medieval societies, only the truly wealthy could afford to own actual beds.
These beds were elevated, standing high off the ground. They were typically constructed from either wood or metal. Wealthy individuals' beds were often surrounded by elaborate curtains. These curtains served not merely as decoration, but primarily to retain warmth and ensure personal privacy. However, it's quite interesting that even monarchs rarely slept completely by themselves. The concept of privacy during sleep was a relatively modern one. Pillows did exist, but they were certainly not designed for comfort. In ancient Egypt, for instance, pillows were typically crafted from stone or even wood. Their primary purpose was to support the head and protect elaborate hairstyles. Being comfortable was not considered important at all. Maintaining proper posture was absolutely key. For centuries, ceramic and wooden pillows were commonly used in China. It was widely believed that soft pillows would weaken the body. Excessive comfort was often perceived as unhealthy and in some societies even morally objectionable. Throughout much of history, sleeping alone was a rare occurrence. Families would typically sleep together in the same room. These included mothers, fathers, their children, and sometimes even their animals. In colder regions, people would often sleep in close proximity to one another to preserve their essential body warmth. Within inns and private residences, it was common for even complete strangers to share a single sleeping space. The notions of personal solitude and individual privacy during slumber are indeed considered a true luxury of our contemporary era. The nights were truly terrifying. With no locks, no windows, and no proper lighting, sleep was always a state of high alert. Even as they slept, people would always be listening intently for any sign of danger. Wild animals, cunning thieves, destructive fires, and widespread diseases always presented a serious risk. Many individuals would keep their weapons close by, right next to their beds. Their sleep was never truly deep, it was fragmented, and they remained constantly vigilant. In the past, people would not sleep for 8 hours straight without interruption. This is precisely what is known as segmented sleep. People would sleep for a few hours, then they would awaken, and after that, they would go back to sleep. During these hours of wakefulness, people would offer prayers, engage in conversations, ponder their thoughts, and attend to small tasks. This pattern was considered quite normal until artificial lighting became widely available. Insomnia was not typically regarded as a medical condition. However, fire fundamentally altered human sleep patterns. The central hearth within the dwelling provided both essential warmth and illumination, but it also carried the inherent risks of smoke and fire. People used to sleep close to the fire. Burns and breathing problems were a risk. Candles were expensive. The majority of people would sleep in total darkness. For them, darkness signified fear. Pajamas simply did not exist, so people would sleep in their daytime attire or completely naked. This was because clothing was very expensive. There were only a few pieces of clothing available. To undress meant complete vulnerability. What truly mattered was to remain warm, not to be covered. The beds were not clean. The bed sheets had been used for many years without ever being washed. It was very difficult to wash them. Lice, fleas, and other parasites were a common occurrence. People considered these a normal part of their daily lives. Having clean sheets was a truly great luxury. The way and place you slept would indicate your standing in society. The poor would always sleep directly on the floor, while the rich slept in elevated, comfortable beds. The patients would lie close to the fire. The elderly would be near the wall. Even sleep was a hierarchy.
Modern beds have truly become widespread, especially in the last 2 centuries. The Industrial Revolution then made beds significantly more affordable.
Spring mattresses, cotton, and the rise of mass production completely transformed our daily lives. Dedicated private bedrooms began to emerge. Sleep then evolved into a truly personal, private, and comfortable experience.
Something humanity has never experienced before.
For the vast majority of human history, sleep was not a peaceful experience.
It was cold, uncomfortable, often shared, and quite dangerous. The modern bed is not what's considered normal. It's actually a historical anomaly. So when you lie down in your comfortable bed tonight, remember this: comfortable, undisturbed sleep is truly one of humanity's newest luxuries.